Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's not pretty. This is for all those content creators. Content creators that perhaps love conspiracy theories, content creators that hate racism, content creators that are interested in politics, and especially the content creators that love South Africa. Shout out to Just Chizzy, shout out to Mzansi Varsity, shout out to Lillian, shout out to Uncle P, of course. Okay, this is important that you guys know this. We're dealing with the Afrikaaner refugee situation. I have not been on my channel for a long time. I've been going through a tough time, and I still am. I do not have the energy to make all the videos that I could on this topic. So what I'm doing is giving you guys, content creator or not, stuff that you can research so that you can really understand the story behind the Afrikaner refugees. Guys, when you were standing up towards the unfair accusations of xenophobia towards South Africa, this is the other side of the sandwich. I tried to make that clear in my first video that was called Give Black South Africans Some Peace, how I drew a parallel between the white genocide conspiracy theorists as well as the xenophobia conspiracy theorists. This is all stuff that is aimed at the character of black South Africans, consistently painting them to be a demon. And the thing is, the kind of people who, look, there's one thing that racist people of all colors have in common. They see South Africa as idealism. It was the perfect system of racism, and then the best example of a miracle overcoming racism in history. They hate that. Whether they are black, whether they are white, they want a world in which South Africa retaliated and in which there was a war. They have that in common. They may hate each other, right? A white supremacist on this side with a KKK type, the Netanyahu type on this side, may hate a black person on this side and that side and that side. But they share a couple of things in common. The first thing is that they all believe that they are superior to South Africans, right? And many of you who don't really outrightly think like that hold on to beliefs that had you been in apartheid, had you been in South Africa, you would have done so much better. Guys, it's time to put that all aside, no matter where in the spectrum you fall. If you come from the Northern Hemisphere and you have a sense of, anywhere even in Africa, and you have a sense that had you been in South Africa, you would have done differently. If you come from America and you have American protagonist energy, if you come from the West, even if you're black, white, whatever, and you have notions of Western moral superiority, now is the time to put that aside because of the potential for danger. Again, I don't mean to fearmonger, but I do want you to understand what you're dealing with. What we're going to deal with is a level of racism, a refinement of racism, and a sophistication of racism that nobody outside of Namibia or South Africa has ever seen. Okay, maybe Congo. I'll put Congo in there. Okay, this is the PhD in racism. Okay, I know you guys might want to believe differently. Cool. Don't take my word for it. Go do your research and then come back here. So these are the things you need to know as background to your understanding of the Afrikaner refugees. They are not the root. They are the fruit of stuff that's been going on for years, even centuries. So the first thing is go watch my video recently published that I said what would happen if apartheid came to America, insight into white supremacy and the white folks' profit. So you do want to know about, if you don't understand or you can't pronounce or you can't explain what swart gevaar, rooi gevaar, Joodse gevaar en Engelse gevaar is, then you don't understand. By the way, if you are an Afrikaans speaker, particularly colored or black, but even a white person that does not believe in white supremacy and your Afrikaans is a level of sophisticated, we're going to need your help. Even if you're not good at creating content, Tannie, nou is die tyd, nee? Asseblief, julle moet hierdeur praat, want baie van die goede gebeur in Afrikaans spaces. A lot of the stuff happens in Afrikaans spaces. And so the English-speaking world and their ignorance leaves them vulnerable. Leaves them vulnerable to the planning that's been going on. And verstaan jy now, those secret things that have been happening in Afrikaans are now speaking into American president's ears. Okay, we are the only voice that could be the counterbalance, Afrikaans speakers in this nation. And I am a Soti. I'm English dominant. So a sister needs your help. Your country needs your help. Like the world needs your help. Okay. Here we go. So one of the other things you guys need to know is the Suidlanders. That means Southlanders. So the Afrikaners used to call the British Uitlanders, as in they're foreigners. And now they call themselves the Suidlanders. This has been going on for years. I would just like you to know that 2 weeks ago, 12,000 views. They say here on this video, oorlog in SA beplan. That means war has been planned in South Africa. They have been gathering money for years. Let me see if I can actually find their website. From the most racist people in the world, or the most ignorant and easily to manipulate people in the world, especially in Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. Your Fox News kind of people, okay? So poor ass people from that side of the world, right, will be donating their last $5, and it has been happening for a long time, to the Suidlanders who've been living in like 5-bedroom houses here in South Africa, because they really want to believe so badly that black people cannot have the greatness of spirit that South African black people did, and forgive, and they believe that, because then you see, then black people don't get to have the moral high ground to do what Nelson Mandela let us do, and then they have to admit that they're just assholes. They want it to be a retaliation, and so they fabricated it, and they've been gaining money for a long time. And if you actually go to their page, I don't know, I haven't seen it in years, but you know who used to pop up in their page immediately? You guys will never believe, okay, those of you who are more on the far left wing, Julius Malema, and I'll try and have okay, so there it is. This is their website, and they raise money, and they've been raising money, okay? So he used to be on this front page the last time I checked it, back in like 2018. And any of his rhetoric has been used to embolden this idea of the evil black person that is like retaliating and everything, right? Another thing that it should give you insight is the white people's prophet, s.h.a.r.p. It's important to go and understand his prophecies. I went down this rabbit hole a few years ago, not willing to go down it again, but I think that your knowledge of this is incomplete if you don't get what's going on, okay? Basically, these people believe that he prophesied everything from World War I to World War II. My last video explains why I disagree with their interpretations, but they're basically they're planning that apartheid will come back to South Africa, and that it's going to happen just a little bit north of South Africa, okay? So it's important for you to know that. This is from around 100 years ago, late 1800s, early 1900s. Then, you need to know who the Broederbond are, the Afrikaaner Broederbond. That means brother bond, okay? This is a group of Nazis that they snuck into South Africa through Namibia. Namibia is now its own country. It's just northwest of us, right? But it used to be known as German Southwest Africa. Then it was part of South Africa. We are the same thing. They went through the same apartheid that we went through. They became their own country in 1990. So they just missed out on Mandela coming out of prison, and they just missed out on our democracy, okay? But they're a phenomenal country. One thing they do better than us is they've actually made Khoisan languages official. So I dig them for that. Okay, talking about them, one of the most painful stories you will ever hear, the forgotten genocide. This is going to show you what the Herero and the Nama people went through, but it's also going to show you what the Broederbond and indeed what South African white supremacists are capable of, okay? And then I also want you to know who the Stellenbosch Mafia is. That is white billionaires in South Africa. Over here, they do claim that Julius Malema is being paid by them. Okay, so just a very nuanced view on Julius Malema. I do tend towards being the kind of person that believes that white billionaires are paying him to say the stuff he says, to incite hatred on the one hand. On the other hand, I also fear, and I listen to Julius Malema when he says he's been caricatured. He's been caricatured in the media, and maybe what he says is being cherry-picked. So for the most part, in the same way as I don't spend time listening to white supremacists anymore, I don't really listen that much to Julius Malema anymore, right? And I'm not trying to offend you if you are one of his fans. I am telling you, I'm listening to your side of the story. Like, perhaps he has just been caricatured by them, right? On the other hand, whether he's being paid by them or not, they still use his stuff, perhaps take it out of context, to come to the same point. Guys, this is the same thing. Anybody who envisions a South Africa in which there is war, anybody who envisions a South Africa in which black and white hate each other, and anybody who envisions that because they want their own gain, whether it's that you want this thing of, oh, but you're my brother, why are you going with them? Or whatever the case is. You guys, you want that not just because you want parts of South Africa, but sometimes because ideologically you want to believe that your race is superior, and that is because you have an inferiority complex. That's what racism boils down to. Instead of putting all this money and effort into being racist or into fueling the spirit of racism, or even what you might moralize as anti-racism, which is still racism, nothing but a deep respect for somebody, nothing but, judging people by the content of their character is the right moral stance. Sorry. Okay? Their money, their hair color, whether they're disabled, whatever, their skin color, whatever, that's bullshit. Okay? It is a path down to cuck. You should know this by now. Okay? But South Africa being like this ideal paragon of how to deal with racism, guys, I'm just going to say it again. If you weren't born in South Africa or Namibia, you are now swimming with the big boys. Okay? Now is the time for humility. Now is the time to close your mouth and open your ears. You gotta learn if you're going to be dealing and facing this, okay? I'm not fear-mongering because I'm not actually so terrified that it's going to happen exactly tomorrow. I haven't got a clear indication of how much power they have in the world. But if they should, wouldn't you rather be well-informed than feeding your ego? Okay, set aside any notions that you're morally superior to South Africans. Set aside any notions that you quite understand racism of this level. You ain't seen nothing yet. This has been Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty, a call to people to educate themselves on this stuff. I hope I've given you the best resources. Go look into it. And if you still doubt what I said about it, you've all got a lot to learn, no matter which country you come from. If you doubt what I said, okay, learn the hard way. Ciao for now.